This morning, the Bank of England hiked its interest rates for a fifth time in an effort to rein in inflation. Inflation is real, not just at the petrol pump, but it's coming in increased mortgage payments for homeowners. If you're wondering about all these obscure terms like interest rates and increased mortgage payments, they used to be important a few decades ago. If you're extremely old, you may remember them. But for the last 13 years or so, we haven't really had interest rates. The cost of money has been very cheap, and the cost of money is about to get more expensive. Leilani Dowding is here, and it's always good to see her. Leilani, you're actually an economics graduate, which I find a sort of bewildering concept. Yeah, carry on.
Actually, an economics dropout. I actually dropped out of university, but I was doing economics, and I had planned to do an economics degree. But even I could see 2 years ago that, lockdowns, the supply chain collapse, people getting paid to do nothing, would cause hyperinflation. And this is where we are right now. I understand why interest rates and mortgage rates have to go up to curb inflation. They say it's at 9%. I think it's a lie. I think they're manipulating it with this basket, with the electrical goods staying the same. That kind of helps pretend that inflation's really lower than it is. So I understand why they're doing it, but what I failed to understand is how they could pretend they could not see this coming. Even I, the economics dropout, could see it coming. And for 2 years, people were programmed to say, by the media, by the government, if you were to question lockdowns or the supply chain or just handing out free money, if you were to question it, you were selfish. You were putting money before, lives. You were a tinfoiler if you thought that the government were going to, it was going to cause hyperinflation and you could possibly lose your home and there'd be a big recession afterwards, And people were just programmed like it was with a narrative. Anybody that spoke and asked these questions got immediately shut down, and you could not talk about the economic devastation that these policies would have. And now they sit there, these politicians, and they're so glib. They're fluent and they're eloquent, and they're just coming out with lies and excuses, and it's like a conjurer. They sit on the BBC talking about it so nicely that people forget the actual words and lies coming out of their mouth. How they couldn't imagine this happening. Well, everyone else could. We were trying to tell people this was going to happen. So of course it is. Now, add in the housing crisis, all these poor people that have been moving into suburbs to give their families a better life. They're going to be penalised at the petrol pump. These new little estates that have cropped up all around the country, they still don't have, a supermarket within them. So people rely on transport to get to the services, to the doctors in the next town, because they haven't put the infrastructure in, because they've just popped all these houses up so quickly. And I think all these people in Westminster just think we all live we all drive around in big 4x4s if you're out of the city, which isn't the case. People are. My village has a whole load of pensioners in there driving their little cars. I have a 1.1 litre engine car that my mum gave me, and it cost £75 to fill up yesterday. So, how is the average person, 2 children, supposed to be paying this kind of money out? And our government is taking half the money in fuel duty and VAT, and so it's a cash cow to them. Like, why would they want to stop it?
Yeah, well, you were on top of this a year and a half ago. Can we put that tweet of Leilani's back up on the screen, the one we saw a couple of minutes ago? This is you 18 months ago, told you 2020 was the warm-up. This will never end till all the small businesses are gone, till people's homes are repossessed, till every small pub and restaurant has gone, more suicides, more mental health issues. It was perfectly obvious that if you do what the government did in 2020, that this was going to lead to inflation. All the clever the fellas who finished the course instead of dropping out like you, all profess to be baffled as to why this suddenly happened. We should just make you governor of the Bank of England, and that you can explain the obvious to these losers. But this idea that this is not...
I can't understand
this idea.
No. Sorry.
No, of course not. It's rubbish. The idea that this is not connected to the actions taken. Oh, we had this mysterious virus and we did certain things, and now 2 years later the economy's collapsed. There's inflation everywhere. No one can afford to put petrol. Why don't you try actually? It doesn't really take any skill to draw a line between one and the other.
And honestly, I would say this to people and they would send me back memes of somebody in a tinfoil hat, like I was some conspiracy theorist, you know. And what's really upsetting, by the way, I have to say, my grammar isn't all that great in some of my tweets. I'm like Kermit on like the typewriter, just bashing away in this angry rant, because it just winds me up how people couldn't see this. I mean, I saw it 2 years ago, and, you know, it's so frustrating. And now, you know, you want to be smug and say, well, I told you so, but you can't, because at the end of the day, this is affecting all of us. We're all going to be hit really, really hard by this. All of us are. And you know, all these people that sit there in their electric cars thinking that they're not going to get touched by it because, you know, it doesn't matter and they can laugh when they drive past the petrol stations. They need to stop being so short-sighted. You know, the farmers have got to fill up their huge, massive tractors, and they have to go out and they have to plough the fields, plant the crops, water the crops, harvest them. Then they have to go and cut silage for the cows and the cattle and the sheep that they're breeding. And they have to then transport it. So it's going to affect every single one of us. And the fact that 2 years ago, if you kind of said this, and you explained what was going to happen, you were just like the most heartless person on the planet. And really, everyone was just trying to pre-warn people to say, look, let's not get this far. Let's not destroy our economies, because this is where what they did, the cure, as you want to say, was far worse than the disease.
Yep, that is absolutely right. And it's insane that so many prominent UK media figures, you know, Susanna Reid berating the Prime Minister over pensioners riding around on buses to keep warm all day. Susanna Reid made this world possible. If these media figures had actually just said, no, hold on with all this lockdown stuff, if they'd actually done their job of holding the government accountable, we wouldn't actually be in this situation. Thank you. Your tweets hold up better than most British. I'm serious when I say I think we should make Leilani governor of the Bank of England. I mean, Mark Carney has been governor of the Bank of Canada, governor of the Bank of England. They'll make him governor of the Bank of the South Sandwich Islands, and he's lousy at all of them. Leilani would do a much better. Leilani would do a much better job.
The problem is, Mark, is I don't have friends that I'm going to give backhanders to, like the rest of the politicians have been doing the last 2.5 years. So it won't get me far, will it?
No, you lack the connections. It's no use knowing me. I'll put in a word for you with the Central Bank of Papua New Guinea. I know someone down there. Thank you very much, Leilani. It is always great to see you.